I didn't know how grateful I was for the Bengals-Rams Super Bowl until this moment.
Right?
Wouldn't it be nice just to have two random-ass teams in there that, kind of came out of nowhere?
Wasn't it great when Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson did the intro for their arrivals on the field during the game?
I forgot about that.
Oh, I was in the stadium, and I'm like, is that The Rock? Wow, he's really into this. Holy crap.
My Dwayne, my Rock, my Johnson.
And speaking of getting the party started,
for the victory lap though. They ain't never seen nothing like this before. Lit the room when I came through the front door. Ask me if I stress overcome, what for? Train under trees, please pardon my sycamore. Touch burning sands, cross lands and stormy shore seasons in the year, yeah. Switch gears, we keeping haters in the rear. At the blood, sweat and tears and my goal so near. I see my victory so clear. I see my victory so clear. And today, we break through. And today, we break through. And today, we break through. And today.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to episode 62 of the Gridiron Podcast. That's one way to start the podcast, with just awkward and ambient silence. If you found us, we appreciate it. This is the only podcast in the world which covers exclusively the likes of Formula One and football. As always, I will be your MC for this evening's festivities. I'm Sean Barie, and joining me as always along this magical mystery ride into Formula One and football, if you're watching us on Twitch or YouTube, in the center square, it's the bald behemoth, Nick Shook. This is great for the audio listeners as Nick flexes his right bicep. Let's go over
doesn't say a word.
Yeah, doesn't say a word at all. Doesn't introduce himself. Just like silence.
Forgot I was muted.
And then the lovely tones of our Canadian queen, Katie Caldwell. Guys, welcome to episode 62.
Hello,
the Jason
friends.
Kelsey episode, I guess you could call it.
Look at that. How we doing? How's it going? We're a little chaotic today for those listening at home.
It's okay. I'm just Nick. Are you okay? Speak, Nick.
Woof, woof, woof.
There we go. He's awkwardly silent this time around. So if you're new
Is
here,
there a man trapped in a tree? Where is it, boy?
You pooped in the refrigerator and ate the whole wheel of cheese? I'm not even mad.
What do you mean my grandmother cheated on her taxes?
If you're new here to the Gridiron Podcast, what we do is, for the past couple of weeks, we've been breaking down all of the NFL playoff action. We're going to talk about the NFC and AFC title games and get into our Super Bowl predictions, which we kind of gave last week, but I guess we're going to redo that because only one of us got the exact Super Bowl prediction correct, that being our resident NFL.com talent writer, Nick Shook. Go figure. And then we'll break into F1 because even during the F1 offseason, we've just got a little bit of news to get to, and that being just the FIA being the worst when it comes to being like the lunchroom monitor of motorsports. It's the best way I can put it. So we'll talk about the new rules the FIA has implemented, but first, as
the
we
F
often...
stands for something different today with the FIA.
It does. F around and find out is what it
we
stands
will get
for.
there.
FIA, it just means more.
We can say that now as Big Ten fans because where's the SEC now? Anyway, let's get into how we started these podcasts the past couple of weeks. Shook's Rapid Reactions.
Shook's medium-paced reactions.
Yeah,
because
Shook's
we have
medium-paced.
2 games to talk about, baby.
Yes,
Dang,
we can-
medium-paced reaction. It's going to be a tight show. Tight show today.
We can medium pace these things out. All right, so we had championship weekend come and gone. The AFC title game, the NFC title game, both highly anticipated matchups. Nick, which one do you want to start with? Do you want to go in chronological order or just throw a dart at the board? All right,
We always do.
We don't have many rules in the Gridiron Podcast, but we always start in chronological order. So the first game last Sunday was the NFC title game between a team that a lot of people didn't think would be here at the start of the season, the Washington Commanders, traveling to Philly to take on the Eagles. Nick, before you get into your reaction, if I would have told you that the Commanders would be here and that the Eagles would drop a 50 burger on them, you'd probably believe me at that point.
Well, if it was week 1, I mean, I think we set their over-under win total at 5.5 in the preseason, which we swung and missed big time on that, guys. Congrats.
That's okay.
High fives to all of us.
I had the over on that one. I went back and looked at my notes.
High five to you. High five
Other way.
to Sean. Okay. Yeah.
Just
Well,
do
we're all
this.
in different
We can't be
boxes
wrong.
based on where we're looking. High fives to everybody. This is great for the audio listener. Look, I think, and I'm not here to criticize, but I do think that at least one of you drank the narrative and the emotional Kool-Aid a little too much. You know,
That couldn't have been me.
Long
Doesn't sound like
pulls.
something I would do.
Long
Little
pulls
me.
on the bottle for the Canadian Queen. She's known to do that from time to time, and she certainly did last week. Look, I loved the story of the Commanders. What I said going into the game ended up kind of being true, which is if they don't first force turnovers against this defense, they're not going to win the game because that's how they won their last 2 games. Not only did they not force turnovers when they were on defense, they gave the ball away like it was going out of style. 5 turnovers in this game. Eagles capitalized, 4 turnovers, not 5. Felt like 5. Felt like 10. 4 turnovers in this game for the Commanders. Eagles capitalized on every single one of them. Saquon Barkley starts the game with a 60-yard rushing touchdown. He rips off a 4-yarder in which he juked out the entire defense from the inside to the outside. He caps it with another 4-yarder. He sets up a Jalen Hurts 1-yard touchdown with a long run as well. He dominated the day, but it was about so much more than just Saquon, who finished with 118 rushing yards. The Eagles as a team rushed for 229. They threw for 230. They gained 459 total yards offense. Dan Quinn's defense, which we knew was overachieving all year, proved itself for the sum of its parts, which was a group that played well, but wasn't quite talented enough to keep up. And offensively, they had nothing outside of Jaden Daniels and Zach Ertz and Terry McLaurin's 1 touchdown catch from 36 yards out. That's it. And this is the result that I think we deserve between these two teams because the Eagles are just the better team. Now 55 points was crazy. We were all hemming and hawing. Oh, I'm so worried. When my grandma gets nervous, she pulls at her neck. We all should have been pulling at our neck last week and the week before because, I don't think the Eagles' offense is going to score enough points. Oh, I'm so worried. 55 points later, they shoved it right down your throat. Told you to take a lap, walk on, fella, because they're going back to the Super Bowl in emphatic fashion. Simple as that.
I don't know if I have enough neck skin to pull on my neck.
Neither do
And
I, but
in
she
this
does
moment,
it all
I'm
the
pretty
time.
grateful for that. I will
I don't know if I
eventually.
want to.
Well, you're also wearing a turtleneck, so false
Yeah, nobody
advertising,
look at my
Katie.
neck skin right now, okay? I had one thing in my notes from this game heading into our preview last week, and it was, I think this game's going to come down to turnovers and penalties. And this game came down to turnovers. And Jaden Daniels, like, if you look at it on paper, you'd think, like, oh, it's a rookie quarterback. Like, he was the best player in that game, I thought. I don't think he was the issue whatsoever. They were just outmatched. It was a fun game. I think it looked closer than the score indicated, but I didn't expect a 50 burger. I'm obsessed with Frankie Louvu. And I
Louvu?
loved that player heading into the game. The amount of times that he kept doing that same jump. And did you guys know this, that when the ref was like, yeah, we can just like award a score if we feel like, is that like a rule that's well known? Because I was sitting there being like, do I understand anything about football in this moment? Like, I was watching it with my friends and they were asking me like, is that a standard thing? And I'm looking at them like, I've never heard of this in my entire life.
By
They
the
did a
way,
segment earlier in the
Bills
year.
fans watching that game at that exact moment when they heard the referee said we can award a score, they're like, "Oh my God, there's no way we're beating the Chiefs tonight. If they can award a team a score," Bills fans just felt like a pit drop down into their stomach when they heard that. They're like, it makes sense
based
now.
on purely vibes.
We swung and missed when we did that segment earlier in the season about obscure NFL rules. Nobody knew that you could actually award a score if there's a bunch of encroachment penalties along the goal line. In the video game world, jumping off sides 3 times in a row in a head-to-head game online in a football game is called griefing, and it will get you kicked. And when they did it the second time, I was like, they're going to get kicked for griefing, except it's real life. That is the real-life version of getting kicked for griefing, is we're just going to give them a touchdown if you keep acting like a bunch of jackasses. And luckily, the Eagles ended up getting the job done.
It was just the funniest thing in the world that it just kept happening again and again. That was easily my favorite part of that game, was just watching Frankie Louvu exist out there.
He had a great game, and he's had a great
did.
season, and he's really had a great career for those who pay attention to the plays that don't show up in the box score. He was very effective in Carolina. When Washington got him, I thought it was a great pickup. He had a solid year. He's an excellent player that people usually don't pay attention to, but I think performing on that stage, they're not going to forget his name anymore.
I think, if anything, what we saw from all those offside penalties, what was it, 3 in a row, I think? Was it stopped at 3?
Mm-hmm.
All right. If anything, that just shows us, maybe it is time for the tush push to go the way of, I don't know, some other obscure NFL rule, the wedge block or whatever. Just, it's not fun to watch, and we're seeing it right there going, we're just
But
trying to
it's
stop a
highly
rugby
effective.
scrum. It is. Well, is it, though? We'll get into that in a
For the
second.
Eagles,
to
it
that.
is.
We'll get
Other
to that in a
teams, not so
second.
much.
Is it, if you can do it correctly? Yes, but is it though? I'm surprised that the game was as lopsided as it was. But Kevin Burkhardt and Tom Brady on the Fox broadcast brought this up so many times that Washington, they really started to catch their stride this season. because of all of those weird moments. You can think about the Bears' Hail Mary, the comeback against the Cowboys, the comeback against the Eagles. The Commanders had all of these weird just moments that lifted them to victory, snatched victory out of the jaws of defeat this season, and the Eagles came into the NFC title game determined to not even let them have the chance to do that late.
Yeah, I mean, they protected the ball well and they forced turnovers. They did what you have to do to win a playoff game. Like, it's not often, although it kind of was in these playoffs, that the team that wins the turnover battle wins the game. It's not as guaranteed as it used to be, but it certainly was in this game. And it's exactly what the Eagles needed to do to give everybody belief that they could actually win the Super Bowl. And they are going from the NFC. But, you know, I don't want to cut this conversation too short because I thought Jalen Hurts had a good game and didn't hang on to the ball too long and threw some nice passes. And their offense is pretty well balanced. But I know we're all itching to get to the other game.
Yeah, final score in this one, 55-23, Eagles flying on to the Big Easy. They're playing in a Super Bowl for the second time in 3 years. Nick, who'd they play in that last Super Bowl in Arizona?
Oh, it just happened to be the Kansas City Chiefs.
Well, wouldn't you know it, the Kansas City Chiefs were hosting the Buffalo Bills in the AFC title game. Go figure. Everybody, their mothers, their fathers, anyone with a pulse that does not live in the states of Missouri or Kansas were rooting for the Bills. I mean, for real, like, if there's one thing that brings Americans together, even in these times of divisiveness, it's, guys, we really don't want to see the Kansas City Chiefs in the Super Bowl anymore. Like, can the Bills get one, please? Can we see this? The answer is no. Chiefs beat the Bills 32-29. First time the Chiefs have scored 30 points or more this entire season, and they saved it for the AFC title game. I know a lot of Bills fans still, as we record on Tuesday, are, you know, bitching and moaning about the refs. I don't know why. There's no real reason. You can be all because Gene Steratore said, I think he got a third of the football over that first down line. But okay, why are you even putting yourselves in a situation like that? The Chiefs deserved to win this game, and they did, Nick. Yeah.
The refs didn't really. They had one call, and it was the Bills getting stopped on fourth down. A fourth down play that they tried the same tush-push to the left side that they'd already done multiple times, and it's like their dead giveaway. Like, the Chiefs knew it was going to that side. They even
said it on the broadcast, that they kept going to the left behind the left guard, and then they did it again right after they had said that.
Why not get a little bit of creativity offensively to convert in that scenario? Yes, he looked like he may have crossed the line. It was close. We also rely on human judgment, which means human error is baked in, and the limitations of cameras and everything else. You know, you can go on and on about how technology needs to be improved, but at the same time, it's more, I think, a fact of a lack of creativity in that situation. Now, that's really the only time the officials got fully involved. Now, you can point to the contested catch that Xavier Worthy, James Worthy, basketball player, made in the first half, but that didn't matter because there was a hold on the Bills already. They still would have had the ball. It was a difference of like 15 or 20 yards.
Yeah.
But they still would have had
a first down, but they wouldn't have had the ball at the 5-yard line.
Yeah. But guess what? They were probably going to get there anyway. So, like, don't complain to me. It wasn't the refs. And the whole narrative of, the refs are giving the Chiefs an advantage, blah, blah, blah. No, dude. Like, they are the better team. This is, again, a case of I felt like the better team won the game. Was it close? Yes, it was. But what this really came down to was the Chiefs capitalizing in most scenarios, doing what they do well, which is score unimpressively, long drives. They opened up the passing game, which they've been doing since that Christmas game against the Steelers. Sorry, Sean, to bring back an old memory. That's upsetting you, I'm sure. And they just continued on this slow climb upward in terms of performance. And what we saw was the experience of Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, and the inclusion of Xavier Worthy making big plays. Kareem Hunt scoring a touchdown. The Chiefs just being better than the Bills in a key spot. We also saw a Bills team, and Josh Allen specifically, who showed up as if they carried the weight of all those previous postseason losses on their shoulders. Like, their first quarter was rough until they put that scoring drive together. Josh Allen looked frazzled. He looked uncomfortable in that first drive. And yet, to their credit, they fought back into the game and even took the lead. And it was a great back and forth affair. But they had the opportunity to go win the game, and they simply did not. And why did they not win it, Sean?
Steve Spagnuolo's defense.
Yeah, like, it's as simple as that. They faced a 4th and 5, down 3, chance to go win the game. Joe Brady calls a play in which there's nobody in the backfield against a defense coordinated by a guy who is known for sending exotic blitzes and key downs. They show blitz. They run an orbit motion to Khalil Shakir. He runs half the motion, goes back out to the flat.
Sorry if that wasn't the answer you were looking for, though, but that's, from my point of view, like that, like, he was ready for Josh Allen. Like, they knew what he was going to do, and they're like, we're going to stop you.
On that play specifically, they send the pressure to get the pressure in Josh Allen's face. And he immediately freaks out because he's got 2 unblocked defensive backs coming at him. What else do you expect? You're facing a Spags defense. What else do you expect? I don't know, because I'm not a coordinator, but I knew, and everybody else in America knew, that a blitz was coming. Leave some protection in the backfield for the guy. Don't ask him to make a heroic play, which he almost did, by the way. Throws it up to Dalton Kincaid. It falls through his hands, incomplete on 4th down. Chiefs get a couple first downs, game's over. I can't, if I'm looking at this as a Bills fan, I can't help but say, look, man, we had a chance and we didn't go win it. I texted a Bills fan friend of mine, and I said, look, now is your time for your king to go take his throne. If he's going to take it, now is when he's going to do it. And he didn't do it. And the Chiefs won, and they deserve the win, and they deserve to go back to the Super Bowl.
Man, if you're going to beat the Chiefs at Arrowhead in the AFC Championship, like, Dalton Kincaid has to catch that ball. Like, there are just things that you need to do. Like, the Chiefs felt more prepared to me, but my big question coming out of this was I wanted to see more of James Cook, especially at the end. Like, it felt like he's just such a standout for them right now. Do you have to do the tush push every single time? Like, why in some of those situations are you not handing it off to Cook? Like I just said, they had mentioned it even on the broadcast of they kept going to that left gap behind the left guard. Like, I don't know. It just feels like I do have so much empathy for Bills fans coming out of this, but it just felt like the Chiefs were just more prepared. Like, Patrick Mahomes is inevitable, and we saw it in this game. Him and Andy Reid are inevitable. Also, Chris Jones. Like, everybody talks about Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid together, and it's like, man, Chris Jones needs to be in that conversation every single time. I walked away from that game, and I had felt this already, but he's one of the best football players I've ever seen in my entire life. Any position.
And a big reason for that is because he's had so many opportunities to make plays in the playoffs, and he consistently does. Mm-hmm. And it's because the Chiefs get there all the time, but also a big reason that they win Super Bowls is because he's part of that team. I love that point about James Cook that you made, Katie, because the guy had 13 rushes for 85 yards. Steve Spagnuolo's on the sideline pleading with his defense, stop the run. Please, we just have to stop the run.
That's right.
And then the Bills inexplicably go away from him in the biggest spot. It makes no sense. It's another example of a coach outsmarting himself in the biggest spots, and I think that contributed to them losing.
Rewind a couple of months before the season. Rewind almost a year until we did our draft post show. And I said, why are the Bills trading back? Now, that's fine that you can trade back out for the first round. Like, I don't care, whatever. But, like, why are you trading a pick to your biggest rival, theoretically, the team you need to get through to get to where you want to go, the Chiefs? The Chiefs call you on the phone and say, hey, we want to trade up to draft somebody. I hang the phone up. I will send that pick to anybody. I'd rather not pick than let the Chiefs have my pick. And that pick turned into Xavier Worthy. Had a great game.
One of his best, I think.
It's mind-baffling to me that the Bills made that move. And I understand they're probably thinking, whatever, it's not going to hurt us in the long run. Well, it hurts you right now. Because, yes, Nick, like you said, this felt like it's now or never. Like, if you're going to go grab that crown, you better go grab it right now. And I will say that, yes, Nick, everyone and their mother thought a blitz was coming on that final play from the Bills, except for Tom Brady, because he actually, after the last blitz on the play before, Tom said, looks like he's going to have some time to throw.
It was Romo. It was Romo, and you're right. He goes, he's going to have time.
Sorry.
It's like no, he wasn't going to have time.
Crossed up. I'm getting my Keller guys crossed up. I don't know. He might have time to throw.
He's like, I don't know, Jim. I think he's going to have time. Nope, didn't have time.
Nope, didn't have time.
I
was right about that one.
I don't know.
It's you do need, in games like this, you need a Superman play to happen, and that was their play. That was like their superhero play, and Dalton Kincaid couldn't catch it. It's just, you live by the tush push, you die by the tush push. I've seen that, 4th down play, I don't know how many times. I still don't know if he got the ball across the line. I really don't know because of the way he was holding it, the angle of the cameras. Do there need to be chips in the football? Yeah, probably. It's 2025. We got the technology. We could do it. But you're right, Nick. There is a human element to this game. And the fact that you put that decision in a human's hand, it's only going to go one of two ways. It's either going to be right or going to be wrong. And I don't want to play 50-50 odds if I'm trying to win a Super Bowl.
No. And it also doesn't come down to one play. You had other opportunities to win the game. They didn't. So, in the end, I didn't come away from either game dissatisfied. I know a lot of people were like, oh, I want to see Bills Commanders. I didn't really have an issue with either. Like, the better teams won. Like, if you look at it from a personnel perspective,
I know.
who are you trading from the Bills?
Yeah, but
to
we
the-
can still be
like,
mad that
who
we're
from the
seeing
Eagles
the same
are you
matchup
replacing
again.
with the Bill? You can be mad, but you're gonna watch.
Yeah. It's the Super Bowl. Of course we're going to watch, but I'm not going to be happy about it.
Well, guess what? Life's unfair, and it's not out to make you happy.
For me with the Chiefs, like, I get that sentiment. Heading into the week, I picked Bills and Commanders based only on vibes and manifestation because that's what I wanted. For me, like, both things can be true where, yes, I'm tired of the Chiefs. I really am. It feels like we didn't really have a window in between the greatness of the Patriots to the Chiefs, and it feels the Chiefs are doing it in even a more condensed manner. But I also appreciate their greatness. Like, I've said it before on the pod many times with Max Verstappen and his run, like, sometimes, and I think, Nick, you said this last week, like, greatness can be boring, and that's what we're seeing right now. They're still playing really fun football. Like, they finally scored 30 points. That was more fun than usual.
I was going to say they're not really that much fun to watch, but yeah, they are great.
But I'd still rather watch a game that's within one possession than if they're winning 45-3, 45-6 every single week. Like, that is more boring to me. Yeah, I'm bored of the Chiefs. I'm tired of the Chiefs. I wanted someone else in the Super Bowl, and I know I'm not the only one on the planet feeling that. But sometimes greatness is boring, and it can feel a bit like you're stuck in the same cycle. Eventually, we have to break. But until we see it, we kind of just have to assume that the Chiefs are always going to be there as long as they have that same core.
Yeah, I probably
At some
feel
point,
like
too.
that. I'll probably feel like that until the red and gold confetti is falling in New Orleans, and then I'll
Probably,
be like,
yeah.
they did
Yeah,
it
of
again, and then I'll be like, oh, but they did just make history, which is cool because now you're like, oh, I'm tired of the Chiefs, but no team's ever three-peat.
Well,
They have
no,
a chance to
Nick,
three-peat.
because as soon as you get into that pile of worms, you're going to have Packers fans saying, we three-peated, we won the NFL title and the first 2 Super Bowls.
Yeah, that wasn't the
Just
Super
like
Bowl,
the
though.
Browns four-peated, right?
Then the AAFC.
Well-
nobody's talking about that as a four-peat. None of that's in the Super Bowl era.
Nick, when I seem to remember when I was a student at Kent State University, many
Because
Browns
you
fans
claim
were
the
telling
Browns had
me-
no championships, and I told you they had 8. They had 4 NFL titles and 4 AAF. They won the AAFC into extinction because they were
there
so
were
dominant.
like 6 teams in that league. Congrats, you won 4 division titles in a row.
there
Good
was
on
8.
ya.
I think there was
Still.
8.
At some point, by
I'm
the way,
actually double checking this while you talk.
at some point we have to stop hating on the Chiefs and start maybe diverting a little bit of that hate to the Bills for always giving us this false sense of hope. Like, we are saying, help us, Josh Allen. You are our only hope. And he's like, no.
It feels bad to put it all on Josh, though. Like, it feels like they need him to go out and be just an absolute Superman in these moments. And I just do have so much empathy for him. Like, you heard him on the podium after how much he's carrying this. And it, like I said on the podcast last week, it's like, they can't possibly do it 4 times in a row, can they? They wouldn't ever do something like that. And then it happens and you watch him and there is just so much emotion there. And no, he didn't have a perfect game by any means, but like, I do just feel so bad that there's just such this expectation on Josh Allen that he has to be Superman, that he has to do it all. I was really, really hoping this was the year that it just went their way.
Well, that begs the question, how do you get better? How do you get over this hurdle? Because in all reality, this team overachieved. Like, this is a team that a lot of people thought would take a step back this year after the changes they underwent in the offseason. And yet Allen had an MVP caliber season, and they won a bunch of games, and they got to the AFC Championship game again, and yet they still fell short. So how do you break this habit, this trend, this streak of losses? You have to improve your roster. It's very hard to do in the NFL with all the limitations that are placed on every team, you know, in the name of parity. But I think it falls on the front office to improve this roster. But also it begs the question, is Sean McDermott the right guy? Or is he the JB Bickerstaff of NFL coaches, which is a coach that gets you out of hell into contention, but can't get you to the promised land, as Bickerstaff proved he couldn't with the Cavs last year? That's going to be a question we've already heard talked about, and it's going to continue to be talked about this entire offseason, because let's just fast forward to next year at this time. Let's say they lose again. I think at that point he gets fired. He gets the treatment of the late Marty Schottenheimer. You go 14-2, but you fall short of the Super Bowl. You're out. We're replacing you with Norv Turner and paying for it in the years to come.
I do hear that argument, but at the same time, like, because it's the Chiefs, I just worry that you can build and build and you can be as good as you want to be. But then as soon as you get there, like, it's still the Chiefs, where it kind of feels like you can go through a whole tournament and then you reach Novak Djokovic, and then it's like, what do you do? Like, they're just so great. And we've seen it again and again. Like, their offense is so great. Their defense looks amazing. Like, it's hard for, and even if you create a super team, I still worry that you get there to the big game against Kansas City and you just can't do it just because you don't have Andy Reid, you don't have Patrick Mahomes, you don't have Chris Jones.
Yep.
Well, it's Groundhog Day again.
Yes,
What
it
year
is.
is this?
Yes, it is. It is 2025. I am preparing to once again cover a Super Bowl, including the Chiefs. But I will not be with the Chiefs. I will be, like I was in Phoenix, with the Eagles. Because there's nothing better than a little bit of familiarity when it comes to covering a Super Bowl, baby.
Yes, first time or second time ever, I think, that we've had two separate Super Bowls include the same two teams within a 3-year span. That's all I got. I'm not looking forward to it. Like, I'm not. I mean, I am. It's the Super Bowl. I'm going to watch it. Duh, it's on Fox, so you should watch it too. But, like, it doesn't get me excited in a way that, like, Lions-Bills would. Like, or that would get, like, the entire country excited. Because we do want to see a little bit of parity. I mean, I know parity doesn't equal ratings all the time, but for the love of God, like, it's got to end at some point.
LeBron's almost
Famous
30.
last
This shit
word.
can't go on for too much longer.
Yeah, the fuckery can't go on much longer, can it? Yeah, well,
My word. The only one of us to at least predict the Super Bowl correct was Nick, by the way. He said the Chiefs would beat the Bills and the Eagles would beat the Commanders. I had the Eagles and Bills, Eagles winning the Super Bowl. It could still happen. The Eagles could still win the Super Bowl. Katie didn't have either of these two teams in her Super Bowl.
She went with her heart. And what does that usually lead to, Katie?
I went with what America wanted, and again, it just ended in sheer disappointment, as it usually does when I go with my heart on things. At least I'm keeping it consistent.
Yes, you are, and you should be commended for that.
All right,
I mean,
so we got the Chiefs and Eagles in Super Bowl 59 down in New Orleans. Nick will be there, and I'm sure he'll just be producing some great content for NFL.com and us, maybe.
When do you leave, Nick?
Sunday.
Have fun. Where are you
Is
staying?
this our last pod before the...
I'm not saying that publicly. Come on.
What is your room number and credit card information?
I'm going to need to know everything, sir, so I can come harass you.
I'm just going to come knock on your door like, hey, man, I'm just here for a night. Let's go to Bourbon Street. All right, we've got some coaching hires to talk about, guys, because...
Well, do we want to do our predictions or our coaching hires?
Do we need to do predictions? Like, is anyone going to bet against the Chiefs?
Yes.
Yeah!
Okay, fine.
Let's go!
Katie, who's going to win the Super Bowl?
The Eagles. Again,
Cool.
strictly based on manifestation in this situation. Kate, can I ask you guys a question? Because we're doing pretty all right for time here. We're usually like a minute 15 by the time we wrap up the NFL. Like, you guys can tell me if this is crazy or a bad take. I don't know how much I trust Kellen Moore moving forward, especially against Spags. Like, I thought that he had a good game this time. I'm just not that big of a Kellen Moore fan. Is that a bad
Katie, I
take for
feel
this
like you're
week?
in my... Are you in my brain? I mean, in some ways, yes, but are you in my brain? Like, what's going on here? How do you just know what I'm thinking about this game?
Okay, that makes me feel more validated, because I just, like, I don't want to say Kellen Moore hater. I just, not the hugest fan,
You
and
just don't get it? Like, you don't get Kellen Moore? Like, why is Kellen Moore?
Why is Kellen Moore?
I kind of feel the same way, just because he had such a falling out in Dallas, and then in LA, then goes to Philly, and it's like, now he's this hot coaching commodity again, and it seems like he might be, the guy for New Orleans, possibly, but, like, why?
Okay, I
Congrats.
feel validated.
Congrats. You got Saquon Barkley and Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. Like, it shouldn't be hard to have a good offense in Philadelphia with all the weapons you have.
And they
Like,
didn't.
It shouldn't
That's
be.
the thing. They kind of didn't. Like, he's in the Super Bowl, but that offense has been described by one of its own members as constipated this year. So
Yeah, like, I'm sorry to cut you off, Katie. Like, yeah, I also don't get it either. Like,
I'm
he's doing a
worried
fine
that-
job, but, like...
Yeah, I'm worried that in the Super Bowl he's going to do what he did in the NFC divisional round, which is ask and limping Jalen Hurts to take a 7-step drop in his own end zone amid a pass rush, like just
Immediately
just
after
not-
getting hurt. The next
just
play.
not understand game situation at all. And he didn't do it in this game, luckily, but that is like if you stack up both teams as we go into predictions, right? I look at Spags in the defense. I know what I'll get from them. I look at Andy Reid in the offense. I know what I'll get from them. I know what I'm going to get from Vic Fangio's defense in Philly, which has been stellar. I don't know what I'm going to get from Kellen Moore.
Okay,
that's
thank you.
just the big wild card. And so I'm right there with you. I have no idea, and I don't trust him very much either. To consider him as a head coach would be wild, except we live in an era in which the Cowboys hired Brian Schottenheimer as head coach, and the Jaguars hired Liam Cohen after one season as a good offensive coordinator. So, like, the bar is low. I don't know.
Hold on. I started talking about head coaching hires, and then we're like, no, we can't talk about head coaching
Well, no,
hires.
I was just
Now
using
you're
it
talking
as a
about head coaching
comparison.
hires.
We'll get there, but we got to get to the predictions first. So we'll start with the Canadian Queen, who swung and missed
So hard.
drastically with the bases loaded. She swung and missed so hard, she spun around twice in the box afterward.
Threw
Katie,
my
what's your
back out.
prediction? Oh, Lord.
I'm going to say, I think we're going to see another big Saquon game because he is just so, he's playing at an insane level right now. I'm going to say 28-24 for Philadelphia. Yeah, that's going to be what I'm going with. Do I feel good about it? Absolutely not. But again, manifestation purposes, I'd love the Eagles to have a Super Bowl this year over Kansas City. Let's break up this three-peat talk.
We already know Nick said the gold and red confetti is going to fall in New Orleans.
No, I didn't.
You
I said it
literally
could.
did about 10 minutes ago.
I said it could. Like, I'm imagining a scenario in which it could. I didn't say it would. And that explains my pick. Because the Eagles are going to win, baby. The Eagles are the better team. Offensively, no.
Defensively?
Yes. And that is what's going to matter most. The Bills' defense failed at times in their loss to the Chiefs. But the Chiefs don't have the explosive offense that we once saw. And I think that if the Eagles force turnovers like they did against the Commanders, and if they play as well as they have for most of this season, I'm feeling a lot of Eagles mojo. I don't know what it is. Saquon's got a lot to do with it. I think they're the more complete team. I think they're the more talented team. Their coaching is the big drawback. Kellen Moore and also Nick Sirianni, who has big main character energy when he doesn't need to be the main character. But I'm going with the Eagles, baby. And I can't actually remember exactly what my pick was, but I think it was in the range of 31-25 Eagles.
Okay.
And that is what I'm going to go with. 31-25 Eagles over the Chiefs.
My spirit at this point is just broken. Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce and Steve Spagnuolo and Andy Reid have just broken me. I can't in good conscience pick anybody but the Chiefs because I think we've said it a couple of times. They just feel inevitable. Like, whatever, it's going to happen. We know the script. The NFL is rigged. We know the script. I mean, it's not, but like at this point, we can say it is because we know what's going to happen. We've seen this movie before. I'll go 26-21 Chiefs.
I didn't know how grateful I was for the Bengals-Rams Super Bowl until this moment.
Right?
You know, like, wouldn't it be nice just to have two random-ass teams in there that, like, kind of came out of nowhere?
Wasn't it great when Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson did the intro for their arrivals on the field during the game?
I forgot about that.
Oh, I was in the stadium, and I'm like, is that The Rock? Wow, he's really into this. Holy crap.
My Dwayne, my Rock, my Johnson.
There's our Super Bowl predictions. We'll talk to you next week to see if they're even true. On to some NFL head coaching hires, and we can run through these quickly because over the past week we've had a couple of ones. Let's start off with the most, I guess, high profile, that being Pete Carroll.
Hell yeah.
To the Raiders.
Hell yeah.
73-year-old Pete Carroll, now the head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders. Let's talk to our resident Seahawks fan here. Katie, just what are you feeling with this one?
He does not look a day over 45. I'm just so hyped. I'm so
Katie
hyped he's
and the older
back.
men.
I'm just such a fan of Pete Carroll, and I think it was time for Seattle to move on. But then as soon as he was gone, I was kind of like, shit, this doesn't feel quite the same without him. And the Raiders is just such a fun spot for him. I'm curious to see what he's going to do with that team. I'm just so excited he's coaching again. That, like, sorry, everything's just falling off my
so
desk
excited
right now.
Katie's just throwing shit.
Just throwing my hands everywhere. Things are flying off my desk. I'm just such a big fan of Pete Carroll. I love his coaching. I love his vibe. I love that Marshawn Lynch is in there and he's talking about it. Who's my favorite player of all time? The vibes could be a little higher in Vegas than we anticipated, and I just love that for us. What a fun hire. What a fun hire.
I feel like with Pete Carroll being there, I don't know what the direction of the Raiders is going to be. I feel like it's just a very confusing organization right now, but he does provide that culture, that stability, and I think he can kind of get the best out of his guys. Yeah, I mean, he is 73, so, like, let's see where this goes. They might literally be bringing in, like, a grandfather. Like, they might be bringing in Pete, just so, you know, he can keep the ship afloat, keep it steady, and then maybe you build it up, and then he rides off into the sunset. I think he could be a really good placeholder coach. I really do. But I think that's what this might be.
I don't.
He's the youngest 73-year-old we've ever seen on the planet.
I know, and it sounds like I was throwing shade at him, and I really don't mean to be, but like I meant that as a compliment. Like, he is the person that can get this at least stable. Like, he doesn't have to be there long term, but he can help just. You know, he's a grandfather. He knows when to use duct tape, when to use glue. He knows when to use zip ties after you've ruined under your carriage of your car. Like, he's the grandfather that teaches you how to cut the grass, all right? Like, he can do this.
Pete Carroll, big zip tie guy, and he's going to try to zip tie the Raiders back into a competitive team. Yeah, I'm fine with it. You know, they tried the Patriot way. That didn't work. They tried Antonio Pierce because he had a nice little interim coaching bump. That didn't work. I'm cool with it. Like, I'm excited. It gives you a reason to watch them. Their roster kind of stinks, but they're gonna work on it, and we'll see. He's a fun guy to watch coach. Like, It's not often that coaches are fun to watch. Pete Carroll's fun to watch coach and has been since his days at USC. So I'm excited for him. I'm excited for them. It gives them a little bit of juice, and they were certainly lacking it. They still need a quarterback, but it's a cool hire. I'm on board with it. I'm glad to have him back in the NFL.
Yeah. Nothing more. Next up, not the most high-profile coaching hire, but certainly the most dramatic. Liam Cohen going to the Jags from the Buccaneers. Nick, I'll just let you take the road with this one because he impacted your week last week.
Yeah, Nick, how was your week? How are you doing, buddy?
I haven't had very many great weeks lately, but let's just say that everything was fine until Liam Cohen everything was fine when Liam Cohen said, screw the Jags, I'm going to stay with the Buccaneers and become like one of the highest paid offensive coordinators in the league. You know, he leveraged his position nicely. He got a big pay raise. He's staying with the team he knows, quarterback knows, everything's cool. And then the Jags are like, wait, you mean to tell us the GM that we kept is the reason that we can't hire a coach? Get out of here, Trent Baalke. He gone. And suddenly Liam Cohen's interested in the job again. And then he covertly flies to Jacksonville, to Duval County, to meet with the Jags. He did it without telling the Buccaneers. And next thing you know, it's late in the news shift for me, and I'm getting messages that Liam Cohen's in Jacksonville and he might be getting the job. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. It's 6:30 at night. What the hell, Liam? You just pulled out yesterday. Nobody pulls out and then gets back in that quick. Oh, well, some people do, but you know what I'm saying.
For Jesus Christ.
Okay, if you're new to this podcast, it is not that kind of podcast, I promise.
It may have been intentional. And he jumped right back into that consideration, and of course the Jaguars are happy to scoop him up as their head coach. So what does that mean for the Jags? Who the hell knows? Because Liam Cohen himself has 1 year of demonstrated success as an offensive coordinator. He comes from the McVay tree. He bounced back and forth between the NFL and college, and he had a great year with Baker Mayfield. Does that mean that like Trevor Lawrence is going to be fixed? No, it's not a guarantee. Possibility, but it's not a guarantee. So like, I don't know. I guess it's a cool thing to do. Yeah, you hired a coach that you hope will work well with your quarterback who needs to take the next step. But your last coach was also supposed to be that guy, and you fired him because the rest of your team fell apart. Is he going to come in and magically fix things? No. But at least they have a new regime in there to try to change things. I don't know. The coaching cycle gets very tiring to me. It's very old hat because so many hires end up not working. And this feels like one that's not going to work, but it makes sense on the surface right now. Having said that, if I'm putting any stock in this hire, well, I'm not putting any stock in it because I just don't trust that it's going to work out. But hey, I could be wrong. I've been wrong many times before. So congratulations, Jaguars. You got a guy who kind of looks like Dirk Nowitzki.
It's just true. It just kind of baffles me a little bit too because like you said, like he has 1 year as an offensive coordinator in the NFL under his belt. And it's kind of like, you're throwing $13 million a year at this guy? I don't get the draw. Now, again, I wasn't interviewing him, but it is just to give you like the abbreviated timeline, you know. The deal seemed like it was already in place to keep Liam Cohen with the Bucs, and the Glazers, in fact, were like, no, but go take the interview, you know, get some experience interviewing for that head coaching position. He's like, all right, cool, I'm going to take the interview. Then he was supposed to sign his deal with the Bucs because it was, you know, it was, what is the word I'm looking for?
Contingent.
Contingent, thank you. It was contingent on him not taking a second interview with the Jags, but he does take that second interview with the Jags last Tuesday. And the Bucs are like, hold on, wait a minute, we got this deal. So Wednesday, it's leaked that, okay, he's removing his name and he's going to become the highest paid offensive coordinator in the NFL. He's got a new deal with the Bucs. They're going to double his salary and yada, 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 this and that. And then, like you said, Nick, Thursday, they can't get a hold of him. Nobody knows where he is. He's not answering his phone. Oh, he's in Jacksonville, isn't he? Yes, he is.
Duval.
And becomes the Jags head coach. Yeah, Duval, or however he said it. It wasn't the right way how he said it, but I can tell you that here in Tampa, this entire saga was just seen as like Benedict Arnold. This is just this Tampa has its enemy now. I don't know if they were looking for one, but they have one now because Liam Cohen is officially dead to everybody in the 813 and the 727. Like he is just
Everybody in
doesn't
the
exist.
813.
There is a rivalry now between the Jags and Bucs that didn't exist, and it's all because he took this job.
Which is a great place for Sean Barie to speak from, because he hates Jags fans, because they hate him.
I do. They hate me, and I hate them. So if I have to hop on board the anti-Liam Cohen train, that's fine. That's just fine. It plays up to the base here in Tampa.
Your
Did you
Jags
see,
hate is so funny because, like,
it's so great.
Nick and I are, like, the noted haters just as human beings, like, and on the pod, and Sean's just, like, the lovely Switzerland. But, man, the way that you hate the Jags and they hate you, I love that so much. It's such a fun, like, side Sean storyline about you.
Yeah, and
It's
I
just
love the way
they-
Katie says Jags.
Jags.
The Jags.
Sean, did you see the live stream of his introductory presser on YouTube? The comments, the live chat was just snake emojis. just snake emojis for days.
I was listening to it. I had it on, but I wasn't watching it because I was working. It was just snake emojis.
Yes, just over and over. Bucks fans very upset. And the thing is like, look, dude, I get it. He said he was going to take the deal to stay, but at the same time, can you fault a guy for taking a promotion when it's there? No, he's bettering himself.
Look, at the same time, like, how are you going to turn down, like, $13 million a year? You're going to have complete control over your staff. You're going to have a huge say in who Shad Khan hires as the general manager. Like, what, first-time head coach gets those kind of perks? And he said in his press conference, like, ultimately this was the decision that was best for him and his family. It's one of 32 jobs in the entire world. What coach wouldn't want to take that? Is it a little shady that they had the deal in place already and then had to fly in another interview just to be Rooney Rule compliant? Yeah, that is a little shady. Kind of makes a mockery of the Rooney Rule at the same time. But, I mean, Liam Cohen, they wanted this guy. Shad Khan wanted him. So, yeah, I can see why Trent Baalke is out the door and Liam Cohen's now in Jacksonville. Like, I get it, right? Like, why are you going to turn that job down? I get it.
Yep.
I don't have a lot of thoughts on this other than just, like, the Jags will always feel a bit messy and chaotic until I see otherwise.
Yeah.
That's it. That's my overarching vibe with them. Just
they've had 2
year to year.
They've had 2 years where it was like they're figuring it out, and neither of them proved to be something that would carry over to the next.
And Liam Cohen has even admitted afterwards, I probably could have handled that exit better in Tampa. But I don't know how you do at that point. Like,
gotta do what you gotta do.
You gotta go behind their backs after already agreeing. And a lot of people have jumped down his throat because of the way he handled it. And he agreed to the deal, but he went back on his word. My man, $13 million, head coach in the NFL. Of course, it was an easy decision.
Speaking of haters, Big B's in the chat going crazy, and he just said the Jags are going 0-17 next year, so that's fun.
That would be fun. A lot of people in Tampa would like it.
Yes,
me
they
included,
would.
because I hate Jags fans.
He also commented on Katie's glasses. Katie, would you like to defend yourself verbally?
Oh, well, I think his comment was just, when did Katie start wearing glasses? But I've worn them for like 20 years, just I don't usually wear them on the pod.
There you go. And that's us at the Gridiron Podcast. We're full transparency. Full honesty.
Full transparency.
But you will not get my hotel room number. Stay out of the crap box.
Okay, settle down, Nick. Let's switch gears over to F1 now. We are still currently in the middle of the F1 off-season. We've had some drivers change teams. We've had some livery launch dates released. So it's all pretty quiet, except for the FIA. If the NFL used to be known as the No Fun League, what does the FIA stand for? Because they're the real No Fun League. They've got these world-class drivers that are world-class personalities.
Oh, I have one.
Idiots and assholes.
I was going to go insane asylum, but that works too.
We're just going to bleep all of that out. We're never going to get credentialed for a race, but that's okay. So if you hadn't heard, the FIA came out with a new rule, and it's basically like, I don't know the best way to describe this. Nick, liken this to an NFL rule in place. Is this like
It's like the taunting rule in the NFL, except like on steroids.
You got to protect the shield. Conduct detrimental to the league. That's a good. It's a very vague rule, right?
Do you want me to
exactly
read,
knows what
read
it is.
it?
I got it right here in front of me, but go ahead,
So,
Katie.
The FIA categorized certain actions as misconduct, including gestures, behaviors, or language considered offensive, insulting, or inappropriate. So basically, everything that Drive to Survive was built on. The reason that the sport has blown up.
So no swearing. That's a no-no. You get a finger wag for that. No offensive imagery of any kind. In the rule, it also says that follows suit to, its partners, so like sponsors, maybe host nations. Like, what could be considered offensive?
That's subjective as hell.
Yeah, exactly. What could be considered offensive in the U.S. could, be considered extremely offensive in, say, Saudi Arabia or Qatar or other countries like that. Like, the messaging in different countries, you're a global sport and you want them to keep the same message for 23 straight races. That doesn't seem like it's possible. Not to mention, it's super vague and could be seen, if I'm putting my lawyer hat on, as an infringement on these drivers' free speech.
Which doesn't exist in every nation in which they race, but that's neither here nor there.
But F1 is a British sport and they do have free speech in England.
Yeah, so at least 2 countries, maybe 3, depending on
so
what's going on in Canada.
No more bloody cussing. Everyone can just be reserved to George Russell saying, yabba dabba doo.
Oh, sugar.
Fiddlesticks.
I'm curious to see how the drivers are going to deal with this because the penalties are so severe and so frustrating. Like, there's a monetary fine. There could be race bans. Like, there's so many curse words I want to say.
The referees could award a score.
It's just so frustrating. Like, I hope all of them come out and their entire first press conference is just a bunch of F-bombs in a row, because what can you do if every single one of them takes a stand? There's only 20 drivers and they all have a potty mouth, and that's okay because, like I alluded to earlier, like Drive to Survive, think about the rise of Gunter Steiner and like he had so many F-bombs.
Do not fuck smash my door.
Say it. What was the phrase, Katie? What was the phrase he said?
What, the fuck smash?
The other one. They're making us look like...
They're making us look like, no, fucking wankers. And they want me looking like rock stars. Like, there's so many, like, quotable moments. And then Daniel Ricciardo had that. This might even be too far for me to say on the pod, but, like, Daniel Ricciardo had such an epic thing of, like, Netflix is just a bunch of... And it's like... It's just not nearly the same, and like that's what's so fun about the series Drive to Survive, and even just like the radio messages that you see during a race, and when they push boundaries in the press conferences after. Like, F1 is so special to me because there's so many sports that are so media trained. I'm looking at you, NHL, to a point that the interviews are pointless and unwatchable. Like, when I was at TSN, I worked on a show called That's Hockey Tonight, and we're cutting interviews, and it's like, oh, let me guess, we needed to get pucks in deep, we need to get pucks on net, we needed this and this and this. You can script exactly what they're going to say before they say it, and that's why F1 media to me is actually interesting, because they're not super buttoned up, and they're saying things that a lot of us are feeling, and like, I'm sorry, most people curse. I don't understand why this is such a big, awful, insane deal that sometimes people say the F word and that's okay. Like, all of it is just so frustrating because it feels like it's yet another method of control over these drivers. Like, the jewelry ban was bullshit. Spine me for that, FAA. Like, there's just all these things in a row where who cares? Honestly, who cares? It's a matter of control, and I'm curious to see how the drivers push back on this. Because, what's the point? What's the point of all this other than just controlling them?
So the first offense will land you a €40,000 fine.
That's
the second
wild.
offense, an €80,000 fine, plus a 1-month suspension, which seems for the second offense, you're suspended for a month. Now, apparently you do not have to serve that suspension if you do not create a third offense. And the third offense is the 1-month suspension, plus €120,000 fine, plus loss in points, maybe race bans, all that stuff. It, to me, again, goes to you are trying to censor these drivers. And I can see if you don't want them cussing in the press conferences, right? In the media pen. But in the car, when that emotion is so raw, I get it. It's fine. Whatever. We bleep it out anyway. Like Sky Sports bleeps it out. F1 TV bleeps it out. That's fine. No one's having a problem with that. But it also, the rule is written so vague. It goes back to like what I said. When the NFL says you committed conduct detrimental to the league, what does that mean? It means, art is in the eye of the beholder. If FIA says, you know what, we didn't like that, they can fine you. I don't like when rules are that just ambiguous.
Yeah, it's the elastic clause, essentially. You just free reign. Why? The elastic clause.
Yeah, because we said so. I mean, how did Lewis Hamilton respond when the FIA tried to ban jewelry, which is such a high school
He wore all
move,
the jewelry.
He wore more jewelry than we've ever seen before on Lewis Hamilton. Like, when you were in high school, Nick, were you allowed to wear chains playing football?
No. In fact, you weren't allowed to wear any jewelry playing football because it's a safety risk.
I almost got disqualified from a high school swim meet because I was wearing, wait for it, a Livestrong bracelet. Because it was considered, dating myself here. Yeah, dating myself here. This was back in the 20-aughts.
Not the cause you wanted to get behind, but you didn't know any better back then.
I was wearing a Livestrong bracelet, and they were like, hey, you can't wear that again. If you wear that again in the pool, you're going to get disqualified. Well, I forgot to take it off, so I finished my race, and I'm not kidding you. While I was still on the wall, my hands were underwater, I ripped it off my wrist and just shoved it in my swimsuit. Went and fished it out later. Didn't get disqualified.
Nobody knew. Look at Sean evading the narcs. That's what it is. They're narcs. They're a bunch of narcs. They're a bunch of fun suckers. They're a bunch of narcs.
They're narcs.
You're taking the character and the enjoyment out of this.
For our listeners in the Northeast, a bunch of knacks. I do hope though that the drivers, show up day one for media day and they're just bleepity bleepity bleep left and right. Like they can't control all 20 drivers.
That would be fun.
Enough's enough.
Dock my pockets. I make enough money. See if I care.
Max Verstappen has a customized G6 plane that follows him anywhere he wants to go. I think he can afford it.
God, it feels like this, they're wanting to get in, not at the ground level because they've already been there for a while, but with the younger drivers, it feels like they want to get in there and kind of establish this right now. But tell that to Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen and Carlos Sainz and all these guys that have been in the sport forever. The best part about Yuki, other than him being an amazing underrated driver, is his potty mouth. He's so funny. He's so entertaining. Good luck telling someone like that they can't curse, they can't swear. I hope they swear more than ever.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. We want to see some cussing in Formula One. We want to see the energy. We want to see the personalities. Anything else for F1, guys?
No, I feel like we should end this podcast with just a long string of profanity that would drive away our very small listener base.
We can just put a bleep here at the end.
Bleepity bleep 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 bleep. Yeah.
For all of us here at the Gridiron Podcast, I'm Sean Barie. Go F yourself, Kansas City. We'll see you after the Super Bowl, everyone.
Good night, Canada. Go
Happy retirement, Ray Gun.